Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, friends, welcome to the second webinar from Research to Resilience, which is organized by the CGIAR Research Program, Water, Land and Ecosystems, WLE. My name is Stefan Ullenbrock. I'm the Program Director of Water, Land and Ecosystems, and I also work at IWMI, the International Water Management Institute, as Director for Water, Food and Ecosystems. On Tuesday, we had the first webinar, and it was about rural energy access, and it was an exciting discussion and really enjoyed it. And I'm very much looking forward to the next hour, where we will discuss cost-effective solutions that countries, communities can adapt, can adopt to enhance disaster prevention, preparedness, and adaptation and mitigation to climate change. Colleagues, at WLE, we have different flagship programs, and we have one flagship program that focuses particularly on the assessment of floods and droughts, and also on improved solutions for mitigating and risk management in South Asia. Particularly, there's not only focus on South Asia, but a lot of work has been done in South Asia. We will hear today more details about that. Colleagues have achieved a lot over the last years. They established multi-stakeholder participation. They really very dynamically mitigated drought risks through innovative ideas. They introduced high-tech technologies and brought that to index-based flood insurances, what really helped. And these are low-cost insurances that are scaled up and scaled out to literally thousands of farmers. And that's due to the collaboration with insurance companies and many other stakeholders. That has been done with a number of partners, and I'm very happy to see a number of the colleagues on the call today, including India Council of Agricultural Research, CCAFS, which is a CGIAR Research Program on climate change, the Japanese Ministry on Agriculture, Forestry, Fishery, a number of UN organizations, including World Food Program, World Bank, Asian Development Bank, insurance industry, etc. And only through the collaboration of many partners we could get where we are today. Drawing on the experiences in South Asia, this webinar today will introduce innovative disaster risk management solutions, including the South Asia Drought Monitoring System. We will hear about index-based flood insurances and about bundled insurance solutions with bundling of seed systems as well as climate information services. So quite innovative work. We will have two exciting keynotes. I will introduce the speakers in a minute. After that, we will have a panel discussion, which will be moderated by a colleague. And I'm very much looking forward to listen to the different perspectives from research, from development partners, from private sector colleagues, UN, people working on the ground, etc. And always the objective to scale up solutions to enhance the resilience of climate vulnerable farmers. So this is a great opportunity for South-South learning and to raise the capacity and manage knowledge and share knowledge to reduce risks for professionals and multilateral organizations and companies. Colleagues, let me introduce the first speaker of today, and it's a distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Giriyash Amarat. Dr. Giriyash was also the main focal person to develop the program of today. He is a research group leader at the research group Water Risk to Development and Resilience at IWMI. He received his PhD back in 2003 in applied remote sensing and landscape ecology. Later in Germany, and then later he worked as a postdoc at a French organization, also hold a faculty position at the University of Bayreuth in Germany. Then he worked for ICIMOD in Kathmandu in the period 2008 to 2011, and IWMI is very happy to have Dr. Giriyash as a now principal scientist since some 10 years. And I hand over to Giriyash to deliver the first keynote. Over to you, Giriyash.
Thank you, Stefan, for warmly introducing me to the participant. Is my screen is visible?
Yes, Giriyash.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan. So, without further delay, given it's a very short intervention, I would like to bring here. This is about 10 years of CGIAR Water, Land and Ecosystem Initiative and the flagship research group lead, and the flagship leader is Matthew McCarthy. I believe he is also in the call today, who led to this flagship program, and I'm part of this initiative on managing floods and drought. And as I said, these are WLE is a key pillar for this initiative, and we have co support from CCAF, ICR, and from the government of Japan. Now, before I step in more broadly, the fundamentals of why this water risk program is critically important. So this is how we frame our WLE water risk program. On the one side, we look at in countries identifying risk, not going more technical details, and then help us to know how we can reduce risk through early warning and contingency plan, etc., where the ICR is going to speak more today on that. And then the risk transfer is about risk management, whether it is through bundle solution, risk management. Some of our partners from private sector will be speaking today. While we holistically look this three pillars of R, we will be in a position to say what knowledge products and advisory services will be able to provide across the range of partners. And then while we're doing that, it is inclusively important to look at policies and institutional, without which we don't look at inclusivity issues. And also over years, we can look at how we strengthen the multi-stakeholder institutions in the process. And I think equally, we have been proposing and implementing capacity building and the gender inclusive strategy led by some of our colleagues. So I think I must also thank here before I go more into the technical. We believe in partnership that led to this transformation of this important pillar of CGIAR program on water, land, and ecosystem. So that's about it. Now, one of the beginning point of our WLE program is to identify where the climate risk is there. So we look at various climate hazard, whether it is floods or drought. We superimpose and come with the hotspots where regularly the areas are going to be climate hotspot, and then what locally relevant adaptation measures we can develop. And one of that is identifying flood prone regions for risk transfer mechanism, for which we have developed a suite of tools and technologies, which we will speak today. In the other set of intervention, we are focused on the drought preparedness strategy, which we will be also briefly going through that. So I think while we are started the WLE, there was also a major milestone from WMO in terms of integrated drought management program, which is a very popular strategic framework developed by WMO and GWP. And if you look at this three pillar, talking about monitoring and early warning, vulnerability and impact assessment, and the third set of pillar is mitigation and response planning. WLE was good enough to implement across these three pillars using technologies, using ground-based information, and to ensure this South Asia drought monitoring system is not just about data collection, but also looking at response strategies and also how this data can be useful for risk insurance related elements. Now, as I said, with limited time, we are not going to go more detail on South Asia drought monitoring. The purpose is we produce this data where we work with national members. It could be a ICR, it could be disaster management, or with the World Food Program. Our colleague from World Food Program Sri Lanka will be speaking during the panel session. So taking the ground-based information, satellite data, you could come up with a near real-time contingency plans to help how countries can respond to the crisis. So during this process, we were able to recognize this particular initiative from the Geospatial Consortium of winning the 2020 Geospatial Award for this particular system capabilities. And I think it's not just about monitoring and information. What we are looking at is to monitor, detect, and trigger timely the response strategy. A good example we have been doing in following this good work in Afghanistan, where this particular system is rolled out and this is being used. And in fact, for the first time in Afghanistan, the declaration has happened quite early compared to the 2018 drought, where there was a lot of challenges of having timely intervention by the policymakers to declare drought and also provide relief. So understanding the seasonal behavior and also the challenges of drought severity, you could come with these kind of a modern form of information to provide drought mitigation efforts. And just moving from flood to drought, we have proven flood inundation models. We believe in open access, the principles of what CGIAR we follow. We have a suite of tools that are developed for small scale river basin to large scale river basin models. that led us to developing a flood parameters. And using that flood parameters, we were focusing on how we can insure the uninsured, right? So that's the main focus of that. And we developed with insurance companies, including Swiss Re and others, to design and flood index insurance. And today this has been scaled out to over 100,000 farmers in different part of the regions in India and Bangladesh, where I believe other in the panel we will be speaking more on that. So these are some numbers. And again, these proven solutions again being recognized by Group of Earth Observation in 2020 for winning the Climate Action Award from the Group of Earth Observation. And I just want to also take it further, like, yes, risk transfer is equally important, but we also need to look at how we look at the larger de-risking strategy in providing better supply chain and improve productivity caps. So what I mean, I would skip this point, but what we have done is we work with various partners. It could be a private sector, it could be a government agency. So what is trying to see here, this particular model is we look at the entire value chain from seed distribution to advisory services to weather insurance. And also this is the this season we have also spoken about the grain procurement as well. We are now going to also launch the credit link related product as well, right? So this is just a sample for Sri Lanka, where we have rolled out weather advisories are provided, pest management informations are tailored to the communities, and we are growing with those evidences where open access data, such innovative technology, when blending seed companies with insurance, we can say the larger resilience strategy can be addressed here. And not just about a pilot, we are now talking about scaling. We have been expanding to moving from South Asia, though this event is for South Asia, we are now growing into Africa to Middle East, etc., with the great commitment coming from the strategic partners. And as I said, this is one piece of information where the entire Southern Africa has adapted our framework, and we will share this link where Southern Africa Drought Risk Resilience Initiative is also launched by World Bank. They are using pretty much the framework what IWMI through the WLE initiatives. And my take-home outcomes from all these pieces of work is, one is, it is very clear that for preparedness, you need near real-time monitoring and early warning information. We need to have better institutional coordination. It's not about silo-driven outputs will never make any delivery. So we need to look at institutional coordination. And I think we can speak of the volume of WLE knowledge products that has been developed and disseminated to various countries in the region. And we also work with UNOSA and with SARC and other partners to build the next generation of capacity building. And that's always a sustainable way to look at the next generation of capacity building. And I think the larger focus we always see is the adaptation focus is not just about doing something, but also keeping our goals of SDG and as well as the Sendai framework. With that, I stop here. Thank you. Over to you, Stefan.
Thank you, Girish. It's truly impressive to see, the work over the last 10 years that you and your colleagues have achieved, and how this is scaling up, but also out to other continents, literally the whole world. Before we enter the discussion, it's a pleasure to invite the second keynote speaker of today, and Dr. Abdul Islam. He's the Assistant Director General for Soil and Water Management at the Indian Council for Agricultural Research in New Delhi. Dr. Islam holds a master and a PhD degree from the Indian Institute of Technology in Kharagpur. I hope I have correctly said that. He's quite an established and accomplished scientist as well, so I'm looking forward to his presentation. Among other things, he has been awarded the Global Research Alliance Award, the Norman Borlaug International Agricultural Science and Technology Fellowship by USDA, and others. Dr. Islam has 25 years of experience of research for development on issues related to soil water management, agricultural water resources, planning management, modeling, hydrological modeling, but also hydraulic modeling, and for irrigation canal operations, etc. He has published some 100+ papers, and I'm very much looking forward to learn from him over the next 8 minutes. Please, Dr. Islam.
Thank you, Dr. Stefan. So, share the screen. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Stephen. So I'll be speaking on the water-related risk knowledge product in agriculture risk management. In India, drought and flood are the major water-related risk affecting Indian agriculture. This drought and flood occurs similar at the same time in different parts of the country due to different climatic and rainfall pattern in different parts of the country. And in the recent years, there is increase in frequency and intensity of these climatic extremes, and it is expected to increase further due to climate change. As far as flood-prone area is concerned, in India, there is about 46 million hectare area is flood-prone, and 39 districts are chronically flood-prone. And among the different states, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar have significant flood-prone area. This drought and floods, the climatic streams cannot be stopped or eradicated, but it can be managed, or its impact can be mitigated through different management strategies. In this direction, earlier the different major approach was towards engineering design of dams, reservoir, etc. But now there is understanding that no, even the management strategy like IBFI can be used. This IBFI index-based plus flood insurance product has been implemented in collaboration with IWMI in India. So ICIAR is working in two different components in this IBFI product. First is the estimation of yield loss curve to decide the amount of payout for compensating the loss due to the flood event. And another is the post-flood management. So for yield loss curve, ICIAR has evaluated 3 different rice varieties, that is Swan, Savon, Durga and Tulsi, for that climate resilience, and Swarna Savon has been found to be best performing for climate resilience. So yield loss curve has been established for the different depth and stages of crop growth, and based on this IBFI product has been implemented in Bihar and Odisha. This around 363 farmers has been paid through this IBFI product, and around 1.7 million Indian rupees, that is around $22,000 has been distributed during the in 3 years period, 1918 to 2020. There is on this photograph is of that our Union Minister Giraj Singh is distributing that payout to different farmers, and this payout has been decided through this index-based plus insurance product. The second component, ICIAR is working on post-flood management intervention. Once flood has occurred, then to minimize the loss, the ICIAR is implementing different interventions like alternate varieties of crops, short duration varieties of crops, and different agronomic and water management interventions to raise the income of the farmers. This implementation of post-flood management interventions has increased the income of the farmers in the range of rupees 30,000 to 25,000 to 30,000 in different districts, that is around 300 to 400 US$. Apart from this drought, like flood, drought is another frequently occurring problem in India, and Government of India has published the Drought Manual 2016, where to identify the drought years or drought-prone areas, there are different indicators had been specified. Like in first stage, that is the rainfall deviation from the average rainfall, dry spell, or standard precipitation index is considered. Once the rain occurs, then there is impact on crop zone area, vegetation condition, NDVI, as well as soil moisture availability, reservoir levels. So these are the different indicators are assessed for considered for impact assessment. Now, this drought management manual also emphasizes the need for assessing the drought using different indicators through using a GIS and remote sensing approach. In this direction, ICR, in collaboration with IWMI, is implementing the IDSI index. IDSI is an index which uses satellite-based product and other data and computes soil index, soil moisture index, precipitation index, and integrate with other data to decide the drought severity. And this is implemented through SADMS, that is South Asia Design Drought Monitoring System, developed by IWMI. In India, the drought management is a continuous process. It starts with precision planning like interface mating, and then again monitoring different indicators during season, and then again post-rainy season monitoring drought recharge, groundwater recharge, crop choice identification, etc. So the drought management is a continuous process in India government plan, and ICR is implementing the another flagship program, that National Innovation on Climate Resilient. This program has been implemented in 151 cluster of covering 446 villages. So under this program, different technologies related to flood and drought managements are implemented in farmers' field. This IDSI product has also been tested through Farmers Service Center, that is KVK, in Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, and Telangana states of India. Again, ICR is also developed district agriculture contingency plans to address the issues of climatic aberration and climate risk, and all 650 district agriculture contingency plans have been prepared and implemented in different districts. Now, there is also effort has been made to integrate the drought satellite product along with this district agriculture contingency plans to prepare India Drought portal in collaboration with IWMI. Apart from this, then ICR also work with IWMI in another product, that is UTFI, underground taming of flood water, to address the issues of seasonal floods and droughts. And this has been implemented in the state of UP, Rampur district of UP, through in collaboration with IWMI. So way forward is that this IBFI, IDSI, and this UTFI approach has already been tested in different parts of the country. Now there is a need to develop post-flood management strategies for flood-affected districts, utilizing similar products and concepts. Upskilling the bundle solution and index-based flood insurance product in public-private partnership mode. The IDSI product that in integrated drought severity index product and SADMS should be strengthened through the national and state governments data, and through creating awareness about this portal and this product. Then again, that the dynamic drought contingency plans, already ICR is working on drought contingency plan, that there you need to use the satellite product and upgrade it to dynamic drought contingency advisories. Then improve dryland, there is need for improving dryland agriculture through conjunctive use of surface and groundwater for post-flood management.
You have to round it up. Sorry.
And groundwater availability and use estimation using remote sensing other products, and also to consider the UTFI like approaches for addressing the flood and drought issues, and integrated agriculture risk monitoring and early warning and management. These are some approach. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have to move on. And pleasure to introduce the moderator of the next part, and that's Dr. Alok Sikka. Dr. Sikka is the country representative for IWMI in India, and he held so many senior positions in India before, among other things, the Deputy Director General of the ICIAR, director of the research complex in the eastern region in Patna. He was the coordinator of the Indo-Gangetic Basin under the CGIAR program, Water for Food, etc., etc. Over to you, Alok. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. And without any further ado, because I know that we are a bit late, so I'll start inviting. First of all, let me thank the WLE and the organizer for having given me this chance to moderate this particular session. And it's really going to be an interesting session, but of course, time is always very short. So what I would like to now start with is when we are starting with this, for the paucity of the time, I would request the audience also that you can put your question in the chat, and also the panelists can also simultaneously try and answer whenever they can. So I'll start with the first panelist, that is Enamul Siddiq, who represents Oxfam, and he is interim country director and head of the Climate Justice and Natural Resources Rights. So I invite first Enamul Siddiqui. And Enamul, we would like to know from you if you could quickly describe the initiatives of index-based flood insurance as a collaboration with WLE and IWMI and Oxfam. And the connected question with that is, how did this solution unpack the challenges of financial inclusion among the vulnerable social groups? And so over to you, Enamul, please. And you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Sikka. So I'm working for Oxfam in Bangladesh, and the communities that we work with are most marginalized, which includes the farmers who are affected by floods every year, which includes the flash floods and the other seasonal floods, especially the monsoon. So we have been working on a solution, especially with index-based flood insurances with farmers, and IWMI is a key partner in it, because the way the data needs to be interpreted to convert them into insurance products, that's where we depend on IWMI's support. And I think there is many things that we have already done. If you talk about the financial inclusion bit of it, I think it's larger than data. It's also about affordability and climate justice, which we need to resolve. But if we talk about how IWMI is linked with that, so far our collaboration with IWMI enabled us to support insurance companies and community members to get access to that data and convert that into insurance products. But it is not accessible for all. The data that needs to be linked with insurance products, I think to make that more democratic and accessible to everyone, we have to go some extra miles going forward. But so far, at least, we have tested a solution which can be implemented with the right resources behind it. I hope that answers your question, Dr. Sikka.
Thank you very much, Enamul, for being so precise and being so much well within the time. And of course, if inshallah, if the time permits, I might come back to you again during the Q&A. So moving on to the next panelist, Indu Avaratne, who is a national program officer at the World Food Program, Sri Lanka. And Indu, we'll be happy if you please let us know how you are directly supporting the government of Sri Lanka and your collaboration with WLE on the climate and food security outlook. My first question, and then please go ahead with that. You have 2 minutes for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good evening, colleagues. Across Sri Lanka, the climate-related, weather anomalies, resulting extreme weather events, and it is becoming, increasingly normal now. So this impacts, impacts the country at large, but the farmers, agricultural workers are worst impacts due to these variabilities. Increasing frequency of floods, droughts, flood droughts together. So these incidences In the last 10 years, decade or so, if you see that it creates a severe, hardship for the poor farmers across the country in various seasons. I mean, this shows that link between the climate change and food security, mostly explored towards impacts on water, farming, agriculture, production, irrigation, and various other things which are linked to market chains, and then of course eventually largely food security. Now the important factor. So what would be the strategy overcoming this? And there are certain challenges as well, but it always, which we found, that early information is crucial factor for evidence-based decision making. So, which is somewhat of a solution in this, and especially analyzing different types of data and bringing harmonized, collated information where that decision makers and of course the planners could take certain decisions at the ground, and of course providing certain services to the agriculture, irrigation, users, various livelihood groups as well. What WP is really doing, working with government, collaborating with meteorological agencies, agricultural agencies, agrarian, market chain, and of course the IMI, especially on the technical aspects, bringing them together, facilitating to bring certain information where we can analyze it together and produce certain information outlooks. So we jointly produce by twice a year bulletin called Climate and Food Security Bulletin, which IWMI is part and parcel of that. So this bulletin looks into key aspects of climatic and seasonal trends and their impacts of on food security, and of course which is leaning to the next season as well, how the next season is going to be looks like. So all in all these information are collated together, which will be disseminated to appropriate channels and used in various strategic planning as well as day-to-day activities as well. So this is how that WFE is providing and facilitating this particular technical know-how and support to the government of Sri Lanka as a joint effort to overcome these challenges. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for this excellent summing up of this very useful outlook things. Now I change the gears to disaster risk management with a more focus on the satellite-based technology. And for this, I invite Shirish, who is heading the Beijing office of UN Spider program of the UN USA. And Shirish, what we would like to know is that as you are leading a very important disaster risk management initiative in Asia, and so can you briefly explain the UN Spider platform and how it facilitates the use of space-based technologies for disaster management and emergency response with a vast experience? So over to you, Shirish, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Dr. Alok. So it's my pleasure to be on this platform today to share my experience here. So as you know, UN Spider is United Nations platform for space-based information for disaster management and emergency response. So our job is basically to make sure that all the countries, mostly developing countries, use all types of space-based information effectively in all phases of disaster management. And to that extent, we are doing our interventions at global, regional, and also local at country level. So at global level, I would say that we have been really very active in contributing to Sendai framework. And if you look at the Sendai framework and priority 1 and priority 4, you can see there is a very clear mention of how Earth observation and geospatial information can contribute in achieving targets of Sendai framework. So that advocacy has already gone at global level, and the impact is very good because of that mention in the Sendai framework. A lot of other national disaster management agencies who are preparing their disaster management strategies, they include use of space-based geospatial and high technologies in their disaster management strategies and plans. And once it is in plan, we can see that it gets into action also. So that is what we have done at global level, and we also advocate all the countries in how you can use space in achieving target of sustainable framework. At regional level, we have established kind of standard platforms like with South Asia, with SARC Disaster Management Center. We conduct regular training programs on various aspects, and International Water Management Institute and Giriraj team has been part of our program, and we have conducted almost like 5-6 programs, and it is going on as a kind of a routine interventions at South Asia. We also have other interventions like we conduct training programs at international and global level in ASEAN region, or also for member states of APSCO, Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization, where International Water Management Institute contributes. So basically, just to summarize in 2 lines, I can say that the interventions go at international, global, the regional and national level through advisory missions to the government, engaging with the national disaster management agencies, basically to build the resilience, how they can use the technologies. And during the emergencies, we activate international charter space and major disasters. And that's where our regional network, including International Water Management Institute, they play a very important role in supporting emergencies. So this is what in short we do, and I will come back with more details during our discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shirish. Please stay with us because for the Q&A. And so now I move on to a very important player who gives money to everyone after the damage happens. So Mangesh, and Mangesh is head of the Agriculture India Swiss Re, and he has been working with us. So Mangesh, you have been collaborating with the IWMI and WLE on the development of index-based flood insurance. So how do you see such a high-tech initiatives and the index helping farmers and the government broadly? And what are the opportunities and the challenges for scaling such a solution in the flood-prone nations, including India and other nations? So over to you for 3 minutes, please.
Thanks, Dr. Sika, for this opportunity. Also, thanks to IWMI for allowing me to share the thoughts on this very important project. I think the product with IWMI, which we implemented in India and Bangladesh, fairly simple flood index formula, but at the same time, the indices were actually derived from various data sets, and the overall methodology remained quite complex. So as you said, this is really a high-tech project. There are tremendous opportunities to extend flood index insurance in more territories because there is a genuine protection gap in the flood risk sector, and that's not only confined to the farming communities or only governments, but it's actually applicable to every agri-allied institution and even general public like you and me. There are bound to be some risks which cannot be absorbed or mitigated, and risk transfer through commercial insurance mechanism could be the only way, and extreme flood risk is definitely one of them. Now, as far as opportunities are concerned, first of all, satellite-based data sets can actually help us in providing information on floods or excess of rain or excess of soil moisture. We have actually a few successful examples already in China where the provincial governments bought flood index products along with droughts and cyclones. Of course, the project with IWMI is another successful pilot. We have some excess of soil moisture products as well running with providers like Vendasat, but those are usually given as sort of add-on products along with the drought product. Now, as far as challenges are concerned, first of all, establishing a correlation with the flood between the flood and the crop yield loss. it's always quite difficult as compared to establishing a correlation between drought and the crop yields. This remains a concern when we want to give a product for excess water sensitive crops like soybean. Apart from this, I think not on every level of flood risk can be or needs to be insured, and there could be a few other strategies to manage such risks. And I think this is fairly relevant with earlier presentations which were made here. But I'm sure that we can create actually a comprehensive risk management product for agrarian communities by combining the flood index concept with other types of indices. And I have a strong belief that as long as we develop something which is relevant for the farmers, objective and scalable, easy to understand, it should be successful. Yeah. Okay. Over to you, Dr. Sikka. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mangesh, for giving a very precise overview of everything what's happening. And now the final panelist here is again with whom we are working, Anuj Kambat, who is the CEO of WRMS Private Limited in India. And Anuj, you are promoting the integrated risk management approach, as you know, that we all know. And how do you see the potential of bundled insurance solutions being jointly implemented by WLE, IWMI, and WRMS? And could you summarize the buying in of such solutions among farmers and especially also the value chain partners for scaling and sustainability? And as you know, because scaling and sustainability is really very, very important top in the agenda. So over to you, Anuj.
Thank you, Dr. Sikka. I hope I'm audible.
Sure, pretty much, yes.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. And yeah, we've been working with IWMI and Dr. Giriraj in implementing bundled solutions. And primarily, when Dr. Giriraj talked about the solution where the risk reduction, risk transfer, and post-event recovery all can be bundled together and offered as a solution to the farmers, we were very excited to participate, as this has been also our agenda in terms of offering the risk management solutions to the farmer in a more holistic way. And what we realize is that the uptake among the farmer is much higher because it is more involved risk management approach, where we are talking about first working on offering them the varieties which otherwise they may hesitate to buy because of the risks involved, but those varieties probably would help them in managing those risks per se. So bundling insurance with such seed systems helps in resolving this dilemma in the minds of the farmer that if they're investing in new technology, are they covering themselves for the downside risk of it? The other thing which obviously also most farmers want is that once the seeds are provided, they also need advisories or support in terms of how, when, and what to do with the crop. And with a more holistic climate-based advisories which we provide to the farmers in this BICSA project, we have been able to tell farmer what is the ideal time to irrigate, when not to irrigate, when to apply pesticides. And all these things were offered to the farmer on a platform or SMS or an application which was offered to them. So basically, it's a more holistic risk management approach. And interestingly, we see that there is an uptick about for this approach, not just in among the farmers, but also the value chain players, like the credit providers. We are now working with some of the credit providers who want to offer some similar solutions to the farmers. And a large part of the seed production systems or seed sales systems, so new varieties which are coming in the market, and a lot of private sector seed companies are interested in bundling the risk management solutions so that farmers understand the benefit and they are able to invest in those new solutions without hesitating about the losing the crop or risk related to that. So I see this opportunity in almost all crop areas where the risk is high and where the risk management approach can lead to better input utilization by the farmers.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Anuj. So now I see a couple of questions. So I think so. First of all, I thank all of you panelists. Please be with us because there are a couple of questions. So I'll be just coming back to you. And the first I come to, I guess, Mangesh. Mangesh, there is a question in the Q&A about this. There's an extreme precipitation is notoriously difficult. As we know, it's very difficult to predict. Can the participants comment on the predictive capacity of the flood indices? For what time periods can we get reliable flood prediction in the cases covered over here?
Yeah, happy to answer. Indeed, I think accurate prediction of extreme events remains a bit elusive target so far. However, the flood index insurance product that we have designed here focuses not on the future prediction event, rather than the measurement. Rather than that, it focuses on the measurement of actual flood event that has occurred. So I believe the question here is fairly I would say relevant to the flood prediction related topics, whereas as far as the IBFI project is concerned, that a particular project relied on creating indices for the measurement of actual flood event that has already occurred. So slightly difficult to answer in the current context, I would say.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I mean, of course, there are not really very straightforward answer to that question because for what time, but definitely, I mean, so the next question, I mean, there is somebody has asked, Delphi has asked Shirish, if you could share some satellite images for the project, but I think the person is there in the chat and you can just perhaps I do not know which particular research project area the person is talking about. So anyway, you can chat with the person on this thing. The other one is a question for Inamuel. And this is a question from one of the Indian ICR scientists, Ramanand, that if he would like to know whether IBFI has been accepted at National Crop Insurance Policy in Bangladesh.
Thank you for the question. We don't really have a crop insurance policy, but there is policy framework for insurances, and there is agricultural policy. So none of them specifically mentions index-based insurances, but it is legal. It is legally accepted, which is why we could implement. However, we are trying to bring some changes in the policy scape. For instance, the people who needs this access are close to the microfinance institutions and mobile money transfer platforms rather than banks. So some of the insurance regulations are really like requiring people to use the banks, which is a challenge. This is just an example. So we're trying to change that. So with context, I think our insurance policy will be more inclusive of index-based insurances, but it's not illegal. Huh?
All right. So now I see a question in the Q&A box, again from Eric, and he thanks especially Mangesh for your answer, but he feels that a key focus on the flood risk reduction should be on flood prevention and not on disaster management. So I leave it to any panelists or the key speakers, those who are there, Giriraj and Adulul, to take up that question, if anyone can, or if no one, or if you guys want me to answer, I'll do that. But let me first come to all of you.
I can answer.
Sure.
Okay, so he's right in a way that if you see, look at the global frameworks also, HOGO framework recognize that the emphasis should not be on the disaster management per se, but it should be more on the building resilience and avoiding the new generation of new risks. So that is what is more important, and I think with existence of Sendai framework from 2015, more and more countries are aware that it is very important to really not just focus on the disaster management, but to build the flood resilience, or for that matter, resilience for any disaster. Whatever work that we are doing together, I mean, IWMI and UN Spider are partners, and we have 26 such regional support officers all over the continents. The main emphasis is advocating on building resilience, or use the tools, not only the space-based tools, but any tools that are developed for addressing floods or any other disasters, use them on regular basis to build the resilience. And if you are using that very, very effectively on regular basis, you can use it effectively during actual when the disaster happens. So that has been the advocacy and efforts of all of us.
Yes, thank you, Sirish. Thank you, Sirish. Yes, I think this is the way, because ultimately our objective is to build the resilience of the system, to try and cope with that, and which also requires to be really looked into, because if somebody says prevention, of course, perhaps on the flood kind of things, nobody can really say, but we can always say build the resilience and also the preparedness strategy, because the preparedness would also lead to enhanced resilience. So that's the kind of the essence of thing when we are working into any kind of a water related risk. So I am left with 3 more minutes for this particular session, and I see another question. Good presentation, please. How do you conserve water for agricultural purposes in a flood prone community? So any speaker or the panelist, Adrul, would you like to take that? Please, how do you conserve water for agricultural purposes in a flood prone community?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
In the flood prone area, one of the options we say that IWMI and ICGIAR has worked, that is UTFI, where the flood water is diverted for groundwater recharge, and that water is used during lean period for irrigation purpose. So that is one of the option.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, so that's there, and the managed aquifer recharge, that's also a kind of a managed aquifer recharge system. So we are working. So yes, so thank you very much for that. And I see again questions pouring in. So, but I have got another 2 minutes left, I guess. So let me see. The uptake by farmers and our efficiency of approach comparable, would it be faulty since each strategy addresses a different part of? So, and so I don't say, I mean, somebody is asking about the uptake of the farmers and the efficiency of approach, how really they are comparable and how they are going to be looking into. So I do not know if anybody would like to take on that and how much time is there.
I can just briefly say something about this now. Farmers are very important players in the food security. And I think everyone is aware of the Food System Summit, which has been launched on 23rd September, which is a beginning of, way we produce, transform, or produce, consume, waste, or even store the food. And I think farmers are one of the biggest stakeholders in building resilient food systems. And that is where I see it is now the time where really this farming community will be involved in a lot of those aspects related to risk management, because any risk to the agriculture is the risk to the food systems, and food system is very significant initiative to advance on the sustainable development goals. So I think this will be a new focus, and a lot of strategic inputs will happen now, basically involving farming community into risk management.
So thank you, Sirish, and thanks to all the panel members and the speakers. And now over to Alex or other organizers for the last point on the agenda on the closing remarks. So over to you guys. So, and thank you all very much.
It is now Dr. Veronika Dörr. Over. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan, and thank you so much to all the speakers. Hello, everyone. So I'm the Research Program Manager for Climate Change at the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research. And in Australia, we say disasters are not natural. Extreme events are natural, and disasters result from the choices that we make that have put ourselves and particularly naturally vulnerable people in harm's way. And what I've heard today really reminds me that what's so innovative about everything we've been hearing is actually about the partnerships between technical scientists and the people who have the ability to change and shift those decisions. And so you could be amazed by the knowledge products coming out of WLE and you know the program's initiatives. But what I'm really amazed about is the way those are so carefully tailored and co-developed to be able to make data and information democratized and available, to be able to make insurance affordable and available, to be able to shift people's decisions. And it's those clever partnerships and the clever ways in which we use technical information that I think are so important going forward. And we need to scale those out in many places, but we also need to keep innovating. We need programs like this that keep building the next new idea and the next new partnership, because climate change gives us a shifting baseline. We know from the climate projections that extreme events are in some places going to be more intense, sometimes more frequent. And in Australia, we're already experiencing the situation where parts of Australia we're starting to worry are going to become uninsurable. So the novel aspects of delivering, you know, index-based flood insurance will apply in some places, will be useful to us for a while, but we really need to keep thinking beyond the horizon. And it's that kind of combined need of scaling and further innovation that the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research really believes the CG can deliver for us. So as many of you will know, the CG is going through a process of wrapping up the programs like the one we've been hearing about today, but it's not the end. The next stage, commencing in January, is a set of new initiatives where the type of work you've been hearing about today gets to be embedded even more deeply in a scaling agenda, in an innovation agenda to change systems, to really build resilience. So initiatives like Climber, an initiative that's all about building systemic resilience, are going to become the future home for the sort of work that we're talking about here. So it can keep building and these new partnerships can keep growing. So I'm really excited to see what the new CG is going to be delivering for us in the coming years with the great researchers that we've been hearing from today. If you've really appreciated hearing about research that delivers on resilience, this is part of a seminar series. So the next one is happening next week on the 12th of October, and its focus is on resilient city region food systems. So again, a very forward-looking, innovative partnerships type of talk that's really digging into the critical need for us to have resilient food systems in an increasingly urbanized world. And that may need to look very different than what we traditionally kind of envision when we think about food production and food systems. So it's my job to conclude us all this evening in Australia time. I know it's probably different times where each of you are, but I'm sure you'll join me in thanking the speakers, thanking the organizers for a really stimulating hour. And I hope it's prompted you to think a little bit differently about how you might approach the next innovative partnership that you might join, and how technical information can marry with you know, novel actions in the world to really change how we all experience vulnerability to disasters. Thank you very much. Stefan, if you want to say goodbye to everyone, thank you for having me. And we hope you found it interesting, and we hope you continue to join the seminar series. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Goodbye. Thanks a lot.